go. All right, I am going to start with a quick warm up. And during conferences, I can't remember who told me that their child really enjoyed these cards, and I hadn't done them in so long. So I said, "Oh, really?" And mom and dad said, "Yeah, they thought they were fun." So I'm going to bring them back for a little bit. So I don't know if you guys remember this one. 6 times 3 equals 18. And it says, see a tree for 3 with 6 children measuring the height 18 feet high. So that's the little riddle. The tree sounds like 3. How many children are there? 6. How high is the tree? So 6 times 3 is 18. Here's another one. 3 times 8 is 24. I swing here 24 hours a day. So we're going to think to see a tree, which sounds like 3, with the snowman who looks like an 8, swinging 24 hours a day. What sounds like 3? Tree. Who is swinging in this tree? Snowman who looks like an 8. And how many hours each day does a snowman swing? 24 hours. So 3 times 8 equals 24. Here's another one, and it has a clover. I thought in honor of St. Patrick's Day, we could do some 4-leaf clover ones. 6 times 4 equals 24. See 6 children and a lady holding a 4-leaf clover with a 24-inch waist. How many children are there? How many children? What is the lady holding in her hand? How large is her waist? That's really tiny. I don't think that's realistic. 6 times 4 equals 24. I think I've got another 4-leaf clover. 4 times 4 equals 16. I'm sweet 16. See the boy giving the girl a pair of 4-leaf clovers for 4 times 4 in a box of sweet 16 candy. 4-leaf clovers are for numbers what? 4 and 4, right? The 4 and the 4. Where are the pair of the 4-leaf clovers? In a box of sweet 16 candy. So 4 times 4 equals 16. We'll do 2 more that have 4-leaf clovers for St. Patty's Day. 8 times 4 equals 32. I'm thirsty too. Remember that? That was a while ago. See the snowman who looks like an 8 in the desert with a cactus growing a 4-leaf clover, saying, I'm thirsty too for 32. Who looks like an 8? What is the snowman looking at? Yep, a cactus growing a 4-leaf clover, and he says, I'm what? So 8 times 4 equals 32. Cute. And last 4-leaf clover. 4 times 3 equals 12. You got a 4-leaf clover, and we have a dozen eggs here for the answer. And this 3 is on the tree. See a tree for number 3, growing a 4-leaf clover for number 4, and a dozen eggs sitting in the branches. What does the tree sound like? What is the tree growing? Another 4-leaf clover. What is in the branches? A dozen eggs. So 4 times 3 equals 12. All right, so I'm not sure who that was that enjoyed those, but there they are. So today let's see, we don't want this one. Today we are going to compare fractions just like yesterday. So if you were not with us yesterday, it would be great if you had time to go back and watch that video so you can get the gist and main idea of how to compare unit fractions. That's what we did yesterday. Today, we're going to use, excuse me, Haley, can I help? Okay, eyes up here. Today, we're going to use fraction circles to develop understanding of comparing fractions with the same denominator or with the same numerator. So it gets a little trickier. It's not as easy as yesterday's with unit fractions. And this is so we can solve real world math problems that involve comparing fractions. You'll have to do that in real life, right? You're going to want to know what is more, what is less. So we'll use those fraction circles to compare today. All right. Just a quick reminder, fraction is a number that names part of a whole or part of a set. The unit fractions we looked at yesterday all have a 1 in the numerator. It shows 1 equal part of the whole. Numerators, which number, top or bottom? Top. Denominators, which one? Bottom. Denominator, down. So we are going to get to this. Let me quickly, I want to remind some of you because I know not everybody was here yesterday. So let me show you what we did yesterday, just because I worry that some of us might not know the basics from yesterday. So when we are comparing unit fractions, we use these fraction bars to look at them. And I know August, I don't think you were here, and Marin, I think those are the only two that missed. So watch and learn. When we look at fractions like 1/2 versus 1/8, what do we notice, Marin? What do you notice between 1/2 and 1/8 way down here? What do you notice about the bar, the size of the bar?
That the 8 is a greater number, but it's smaller.
Excellent. So as we explored this yesterday, we came up with as the denominator gets larger, the fraction gets smaller. We talked about the greater gator. Where's August? August, there you are. The greater gator eats the bigger fraction. We said 1/3 is actually greater than a 1/7 because if you're sharing your cookie with 2 other people and yourself, right, 3 people, you're going to get a bigger piece than if you have to share it between 7 people. The same thing is true when we compared 1/3 to 1/2. 1/3 was less than 1/2, even though 3 is greater than 2. A half of a cookie is going to be more, Lennox, than a third because you're sharing with fewer people. 1/6 was greater than 1/7 because 6 is less than 7. So I'm sharing with fewer people. I'm going to get a greater amount. So we did a lot of comparing fractions yesterday, but we looked at unit fractions. So look up here on this part. Marin, I want you to see this too. We noticed on a number line, when you move to the right of the number line, the fractions get greater. They're greater going further to the right. Further to the left, the fractions were what, Ellie? Not greater, not bigger, but what's the opposite? They were smaller, right? We found an 1/8 that's a lot smaller than a 1/2. So it's going to be further to the left on the number line, okay? Because we're going to need to know that. We're going to be looking at number lines today. I also wanted to remind you of our exit ticket. I was disappointed that a lot of you did not do the exit ticket, but the exit ticket yesterday asked, how do you compare unit fractions? So I can show you, let's see. Josh, can I use you as an example? Or Paxton? All right, let's just see. I don't remember. So the exit ticket yesterday said, explain how you can compare unit fractions. For example, how would you compare 1/2 to 1/8? Josh, you said the way I know 1/2 is greater than 1/8 is because 1/2 you get a way bigger piece and 1/8 you get a very small piece. Okay, so that was one way of explaining it. Paxton, can I share yours? Paxton said, so you would see the lower the denominator, the more the alligator wants it. So 1/2 to 1/8, it would want 1/2, right? Because 8 is a bigger number. Does that make sense? Some of you did not explain why. You just said 1/2 is greater than 1/8. So you got a 2 on explaining. If you didn't do it at all, you got a score of a 1. So guys, when I ask you to please do your exit ticket, and yesterday when you were on, I said, I'll stay on here with you. I'll make sure you get on to do it. I know a lot of you got 2s on your report card for that section of math. So if you want to improve that, which I hope you do, so you're ready for 4th grade, make sure you're listening to what we're saying. If I were to say 1/2 is greater than 1/8, yes, that's part of it. But the exit ticket was asking you to explain how you can compare unit fractions. How do you know? How do you know 1/2 is greater than 1/8? So little more detail, explain your thinking. If you're finishing in 30 seconds, most likely you didn't accomplish your goal of explaining that. All right, let's head back to where we're doing today. So I asked you guys to get scissors for a reason. We are going to not cut right away. First, we're going to label our unit fractions on our circles on page 361A. So I'm going to switch over to my dock camera just to show you this so that we can work together. So 361A comes before 361. So don't cut anything out yet, okay? Let's do this together. The first thing we're going to do is take our pencils and label each part of the circles. We're gonna look at each section.
I'm gonna check my friends in 2nd grade.
Okay. So if I'm looking at the green circle first on 361A, does anybody need help finding that page? I don't know.
300?
Yep, it's 360. There you go. Maybe help a friend if you can find it and they can't. Anybody else need some help? Please don't cut it yet. We're going to do some unit fraction review first. 360. 360. There you go. All right. Let's look at the green circle. You ready, Mr. Deesberg? If I were to label each one of these sections, so thinking here where the dotted lines are, what fraction, if it's a unit fraction, would that be? Henrik, what do you think? Let's count the pieces. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you think now that you counted the pieces? 1/4. Everybody put 1/4 on that section or part of the whole. 1/4. It's going to be important that you label these. Serne, give me a thumbs up if you've done that. Have you done that yet? So everybody's working with me. Thank you, Elena. It's on the floor. Serne, get on the floor. Okay, so if we know that section's 1/4, what are we going to label the rest? What do you think, Lila Maris?
I think we're gonna label the rest 1/4.
1/4. All right. Each piece is 1 out of 4, or 1/4 of the whole. Let's move on over to the blue. Lucas, how many equal parts are in that circle? He says 1/6. Give me a thumbs up if you agree. All right, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts. So he's saying each part would be 1/6. 1/6. Go ahead and label that. Each part should have a unit fraction. 1/6. And I can tell some of you are ready to move on to the pinkish purplish one. What do you think, Lennox? Count those pieces. What do we have there? He says it's an 1/8. Anyone disagree? 1/8. So each piece would be 1/8, right? Okay, give me a thumbs up at home if you were able to get that done or when you've gotten that done. So I know Haley, you look like you're done. Are you good? Okay, Ben looks like he's working. Leo still got it. Got it. Astria, Evie, I don't see you. Reese has got it. All right. Lyric, you need another minute? Henry, it's so good to see you in school. Nice. Good to see you, bud. Okay, now what I would like you to do is tell me what you notice about the 3 circles. What do you notice? What do you notice, Sunny?
That the numbers are equal. Like it goes by 2.
So what's similar about this circle, and this circle?
They're all equal numbers.
They're all the same size, aren't they? The whole is the same. If these, they look a little distorted on mine, but in your workbook, you can tell they're all the same size. If these were cookies, we'd have the same size cookie. So when you are comparing fractions, we want to make sure we're comparing the same whole. All right, I want you to carefully cut out your fraction circles along the dotted line. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, you can watch and I'll show you. You can rip out the page first, but you're going to just cut out. Be careful to cut along the lines. You can also cut the page out. All right, August, let's get cutting. Did you already get them labeled? Here, Charlie, let me just... I pulled it out of the... Okay. All right, so one thing you want to be careful of is not to lose these little pieces because we're going to use these to help us compare fractions today. So try to keep them somewhere close by. Right now. Yep, so watch carefully. I have my fourths, so I'm gonna make my fourths pile. Then I'm gonna cut out my blue circle. And I'm gonna have a pile of 6. So I cut out the 6, but now I have to cut out along the dotted line. If it's not perfect, it's okay. We're gonna cut out all 3 circles. What's the matter, honey? Come here. Do you need me to help you? Okay, you're okay. Okay, then you don't need to go making weird noises. You're fine. They are, it's just because your cutting is not perfect. All right, then we're gonna cut out the pinkish purple circle and you'll make a pile of your 8s. Take your time so that you do get accurate pieces. When you're done, you can recycle your scraps in the green recycle bin. That would be greatly appreciated. Yes, please do not leave little bits. All right, I'm gonna give you a few more minutes, but if you're chatting and not cutting, Max, stop the chatting so you can cut, because we are gonna be using these as tools to compare fractions and we wanna get started as soon as possible.
They have to be exactly perfect.
No, there's no such thing, right? We're not perfect. Can you try your best? Yes. That sound fair?
Yeah.
And the hush fell over the crowd. Hush. Some of us are more into talking than cutting, right? And we need to be what? Cutting. If you are finished and your neighbor is not far at all, you could offer to help, right? With your own scissors. Just don't mix up your pieces. All right, show me on your fingers if you need 0 minutes or 1 minute. I got it. Okay. All right. All right, we're gonna get started. If you are still cutting, You may just listen and finish your last couple pieces while we move forward a little bit here. So before we do anything with our circles, I just want to get you thinking about comparing fractions that do not have that are not unit fractions, but do have the same denominator. So I'm just going to write on here 7/8, and I want you to compare 7/8 and 5/8. What do you think? What do you think about these fractions? How are they alike? 7/8 and 5/8. How are they alike, Madison?
Well, the 8, there's 2 8s.
Okay, so the denominators are the same. They're not unit fractions though, are they? Nope, they're not unit fractions. What else, Ellie?
They're both odd numbers.
Okay, the numerators are odd numbers. Good. Okay, so which fraction is greater? Which fraction do you think is greater? Stand up if you think 7/8 would be greater than 5/8. Wow. Okay, stand up if you think 5/8 would be greater than 7/8. Okay, sit down. Let me remind you of something. Yesterday, when we said if the denominator is greater on a unit fraction, like 1/2 versus 1/8, then, oopsie, then we know that that fraction is greater, right? We looked at the down number, the denominator. These fractions are not unit fractions. They don't have the same numerator as a 1. So now what you have to do, I want you to think about your 8s. They're the pink ones. Go ahead and count out 7 of those 8s and see if you can make a circle. So here's an example. You're getting your 8s. You're going to put them together. You want to make 7 of those. And mine is falling everywhere. Okay, so you should be missing 1/8, yes? Because 8/8 is going to create a hole. So here's what 7/8 looks like. I want you to think about that. Now, how can I make 5/8? Josh, what can I do to make 5/8? I would take 2 away. That's 7/8. This is what 5/8 looks like. Picture it as a cookie. Now I want you to stand up if you think 7/8 is the greater fraction. Stand up if you think 5/8 is the greater fraction. Okay, I want you to look at this, Sunny, and anyone else standing up. This is 5/8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you see this, Sunny? Look up here. That's 5/8. Think of a cookie. If I add 2 more 8s, now I have how many 8s? 7/8. Do I have more or less now? More. I just added more. 7/8 is going to be greater than 5/8, right? Because there's more 8s. Each one of these is a unit fraction. There's 7 of them. When I take 2 away, there's now 5 of them. 7 is greater than 5. So 7, I'd rather have 7/8 of a cookie than only 5/8 of a cookie. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't that be better? Yes, I agree. Okay, so here's what we are going to do. We are going to do the same thing. We are supposed to do, we're not going to do with partners because I'm afraid we're going to On page 361, you have circles. We're supposed to do it with the partner, but we're not going to because these 6 go all over the place. So you will see we just did 7/8 compared to 5/8. The greater gator's mouth needs to eat which one? No, be careful. When you're comparing these fractions that have the same denominator or down number, the greater the numerator, the greater the fraction. 7 is greater than 5, so I'd rather have 7/8 than 5/8. Now what we're going to do is get our sixths out. We're going to compare 3/6 to 5/6. But before we do that, stand up if you think 3/6 is going to be greater than 5/6. Stand up if you think 5/6 is greater than 3/6. Okay, let's prove our work. Everybody show me 3/6. Make a part of a cookie. Put 3/6 into your circle. Or put them on the floor, put them on your desk, wherever you're working. Okay, you have 3/6 of a cookie. That's what it looks like. It's about half, right? Is 3/6 greater than, look at this, 4, 5/6? 3 is greater than 5? Which one is greater, Lucas? Let's try it again. Stand up if you think 3/6 is greater than 5/6. If this many 6 is more than this many. Stand up if you think 5 is greater. 5/6 is greater than 3/6. Okay, Gabe, I see you're standing. You can sit down. Why would you say 5/6 is greater than 3/6? You're right. Why, Gabe? Mm-hmm. 3 is more than 5? Okay, so you just said it backwards. If you have 5, watch. This is 3/6. 4, 5. Isn't 5 more? 5 of these triangles more than 3? So you got to kind of forget what we talked about with the unit fractions yesterday. We're comparing different fractions today. You have more because there's 5 of them. If I take 2 away, I have less, and there's only 3 of them. And hopefully visually you can see that. So 5/6 is greater than 3/6, or you can read this 3/6 is less than 5/6. So how can we compare two fractions that have the same denominator? What did we just realize? If they have the same denominator, whether it's 8ths or 6ths, how do we know which one is greater, Paxton? How did we know 7/8 was greater than 5/8 and 5/6 was greater than 3/6? Okay, so you're looking at the numerator, right? Okay, let's write this down. The fraction, he's saying, he's looking at the numerator with the greater numerator or larger. You can write it in your own words if you want. With the greater, and I'll make it bigger for you if I can. I know, I'm working on it right now. Ugh. See if we can make that bigger. With the greater numerator is the greater fraction. When you're looking at fractions with the same denominator. Remember, it has to be with the same denominator. The fraction with the greater numerator is the greater fraction. This is what you would have thought before I taught the lesson yesterday. You would have thought this, but I think you're getting confused with unit fractions. So let's try another one. You ready? Do you have this written? Honey, everybody, you have to have this written right now. The reason I want you to write it is because I will let you use this information when comparing fractions, and it'll help you. The fraction with the greater numerator is the greater fraction. And remember, numerator is the number on top. So we're going to try another one, even though it's not in the book, just to make sure we understand this concept. Let's look at our fourths. Which would be greater? And I'm going to write it on paper here. Which would you rather have of a cookie? One-fourth or three-fourths? You really like cookies. Would I rather have one of these fourths or three of these fourths? Okay. Here's what we're going to look at. Which would be greater? Here's 1/4. Okay, that's 1/4 of a cookie. 3/4 is going to be 3 of those. Oh. Visually, can you see that 3/4 would be greater? Do you see that, Bird? Do you see that? Wouldn't you rather have 3/4 of a cookie than only a little fourth? One little fourth? Yeah? So 3/4 would be greater. Okay. So when we are comparing fractions that have the same denominator, the greater the numerator, the greater the fraction. Okay, I think you'll get it the more we do it. So now what I want you to do is use your fraction circles here. I'm going to pull this back down. We're going to compare 3/4 and 3/8. Do you see it on number 4? All right, let's try it. You're going to need to compare. We're going to use the 2 fraction circles. So on one of them, you're going to make your 3/4, okay? We're going to look at 3/4. Put it on your paper. Everybody's doing this. Let me see you. I don't see you, Finn. Do it, do it, do it, do it. 3/4, and I want you to compare that to 3/8. And I want you to tell me which is greater. You're going to create it with your own triangles. Or they're not triangles, but hearts. Show me. 3/4 is going to be 3 of these. Compare the 3/8. Only 3/4 and 3/8. 3/4 and 3/8. I see Dave's got it. I see Madison's got it. Then I want you to draw the greater symbol to show which one you think is greater. Number 4, 3/4 or 3/8. Looking down at the bottom, you'll see 3/4 or 3/8. Which one is greater? And you'll see on number 4 where you're comparing those 2 fractions. You see it? Number 4? All right, stand up if you think 3/4 is greater. If you made the alligator's mouth eat 3/4. Stand up if you said that 3/8 is greater. Okay, so if you are standing, look at the picture. Which one has more, the green or the purple? Which has more? If they were cookies, and you were hungry, and you have a sweet tooth, which one would you want? The green cookie or the part of the green cookie or that purpley seed part? Which is more? More means bigger, right? Bigger, greater. So which one is greater? 3/4 is greater. Do you see it? Do you see that the size is bigger? Boys, do you see that the size is bigger? Look at that. That's bigger. That's more. You should have said 3/4 is greater than 3/8. Because think about, just like when we did the unit fractions, these are very similar to our unit fractions. Okay, next problem, try it. I want you guys to do it. You're gonna put 5/8 in one circle and 5/6 in the other. See which one you think is greater, 5/8 or 5/6. So I'm gonna put 5/8 in this one, so are you. Put 5/8 in this one. And then get your 6. You're going to put 5/6 in this one. And then go ahead and write in the symbol for which one is greater. We're using these circles, fraction circles, to help us visually see it. Okay, then go ahead and make your greater gator eat the bigger fraction. We're comparing 5/8 to 5/6. You want to click Nope, finish it right now. Okay, I'm gonna pull out of my handy dandy can. Haley Booker, which one's greater? 5/8 or 5/6? 5/6, why? Yeah, it's not filling up much, just a little over half, she says. So let's look at this. 3/4 is greater than 3/8. 5/8 is less than 5/6. What do you notice about the numerators, Finn? What do you notice about the numerators of these fractions we're comparing? They're what? They're the same. What about the denominators? Are they the same?
No.
The denominators are different. Here's Josh Carter. I want you to hear this. Here is something, if you can make this click, it's going to help you so much. When you are comparing fractions that have the same numerator. I want you to think of them as unit fractions and do the same thing you would do if they were unit fractions. So for example, if this said 1/4 compared to 1/8, I would know 1/4 would be greater because fourths are greater than eighths. If this said 1/8 compared to 1/6, I would know 1/6 would be greater because 1/8 is going to be sharing with more people, right? So here's what you're going to explain. How do we compare two fractions that have the same numerator? The fraction with the smaller denominator is the greater fraction, right? Just like unit fraction. It's just what we did yesterday. It really is, if you can think of it like that. It's the same idea. Then really, if you can remember that, and you can remember that when you have fractions that have the same denominator, the numerator, the fraction with the greater numerator is the greater fraction. You only have two to remember. If that sounds really hard, you want to know the good news? Good news is we get to use visuals to help us. We have tools. We can always draw a picture or use our tools to help us compare fractions. The nice thing is in third grade, that's still okay, right? Because we're just getting exposed to all of this. But let's go ahead and write down what we just said. The fraction with the smaller denominator is the greater fraction. And that's when they have the same numerator. The fraction with the smaller denominator. Yep, you're writing with me. Is the greater fraction. Just like when we're comparing unit fractions, you don't want to share with more people because you get less. So I'd rather have 3/4 than 3/8 of a cookie. I would rather have 5/6 than 5/8 of a cookie because look at your pieces. You can see 5/6 is more. Visually, you see pieces that are divided, Lennox, between myself and 5 other people, 6 of us it's gonna be more, right, Lennox? Yes? Thumbs up? Okie dokie. Show me on your fingers when you need 0 minutes to finish writing. Okay, I see a lot of ones still. I want you to write this because I think we can refer back to it to help us. And that's why I was just thinking it's a resource, you know? And sometimes when we write things, we remember them better. Okay, show me on your fingers if you need 0 or 1 more minute. All right. If you didn't get that all written, I will put it back up. I am going to switch gears due to time. So we're gonna quickly watch a video that kind of sums up what we just talked about, what we just discovered on our own. So let's see if this will work. It will.
Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. As you can see, we have a bit of a situation. Those things following us are hungry space gators. They will eat pretty much anything that is big when they are hungry. We need to feed them some fractions to curb their appetite. Will you guys help me? Great, let's compare some fractions and let them eat the biggest ones. Before we jump in, let's remind ourselves what a fraction is. A fraction represents an equal part of a whole or a group. Here is one whole circle. This is a fraction, 1/3. The 3 or bottom number in a fraction is called the denominator. The denominator tells how many equal parts there are. To be a fraction, all parts must be equal. We have 3 total parts that make up the whole circle. The numerator tells us how many equal parts we are talking about. For example, the number 1 in the numerator is referring to the one green part of the circle. The fraction is 1/3 or one part of the 3 equal parts. When we compare fractions, we want to know if one fraction is greater than, less than, or equal to. If you still need a refresher, check out our last video on comparing numbers for 2nd grade. Here we are comparing 2/4 and 3/4. One great way we can compare them is by using models or drawings. When comparing fractions, you want to make sure the models or drawings, or rectangles in this case, are the same size.
Like our
If
circles.
we had different size drawings, yeah, that would not work. So keep them the same size. Each of these rectangles is divided into 4 parts because the denominators are 4. The left fraction has 2 spots that are colored green, and the right fraction has 3 spots that are colored green. Looking at the 2 models, can you tell me which one is bigger or has more green?
What do you think? Say
The
it.
fraction on the right, 3/4 is bigger than 2/4. The space gator's mouth always opens to the bigger number, so it wants to eat the 3/4. So we can say that 2/4 is less than 3/4. Great job. Now another way we could have compared these 2 fractions is by noting that the denominator is the same in both fractions. Both fractions have 4 total parts. This means that we can look at the numerator, and the bigger the number means that fraction is bigger. The numerator on the left is 2, and the numerator on the right is 3. 3 is bigger than 2, so we know 3/4 is bigger than 2/4. Here's a new problem where we need to find out if 1/4 is greater than, less than, or equal to 1/8.
What do you guys think?
You might notice that the denominators are not the same. We are again going
They're
to draw
unit
or use a model
fractions,
to
right?
show the 2 fractions.
When the numerator's the same,
On the left, we have a circle. that is
smaller the
divided into
denominator,
4
the greater
equal
the
pieces.
fraction.
On the right, we have the same size circle that is divided into
Haley
8 equal
Booker.
pieces.
Mm-mm.
The one piece in each fraction is colored green. By looking at the 2, which fraction or green piece is larger? If you said 1/4, you are correct.
That's because
One
you're
piece of 4
sharing
is
with
bigger than
fewer
1/5
people.
of 8. Imagine that you have a pie that you are sharing. If you only share it equally with 4 people instead of 8 people, you will get a larger piece of the pie. Another way we can look at this is by looking at the denominators and numerators. The denominators are not the same in this problem. We have 4 on the left and 8 on the right. The numerators, however, are the same number. If the denominators are different, but the numerators are the same, the bigger fraction will be the one with the smaller denominator. That is kind of tough to follow, but let me explain. The denominator with the smaller number means it is divided into less pieces. This one has been divided into 4 pieces, while this one has been divided into 8. The numerators are both 1, so that means the circle
Haley.
with the lower denominator is bigger. We have just one more problem to do, so hang on tight. Looking at these 2 fractions, can you tell me if 1/2 is greater than, less than, or equal to 2/4? If you said equal to, you are correct. Each of these fractions are the same or equal to each other. 1/2 is equal to 2/4. It is easier to see this because we have the models showing us what each fraction looks like. Drawing a model can help us compare fractions. I hope that you learned a little bit of how to compare fractions today. It looks like the space gators got their fill and are full.
Why are there like
Wait,
coffee
looks like one of them wants some more. I better lose this guy. See you later. Goodbye. Hey guys, you have a few options here. If you want to subscribe, push the
Okay.
red button.
So to kind of sum it up, guys, here's, and I know we might need to use visuals, but this might help you. When comparing unit fractions or fractions with the 1 in the numerator or any other fractions that have the same numerator, if the denominator or the bottom number is greater, the fraction is smaller. For example, 1/2 is greater than an 1/8. But then when you are comparing fractions that have, whoopsie, let's go back. I'm trying to move those people, my people. They don't want to move. Okay, when comparing fractions that have the same denominator, the fraction with the larger numerator is greater. For example, and it's not showing. Let's see if I can get, if I go back. It's funny to me. Stuff everywhere. 2/4 is going to be greater than 1/4. 2/6 is greater than 1/6. 5/8 would be greater than 3/8. Okay, so that's basically what we learned today and yesterday as comparing fractions. Also, here's the other one. When comparing fractions that have the same numerator, if they're not a unit fraction, but they have a different denominator, it's the same as unit fractions. The smaller the denominator, the greater the fraction. See, and I put in parentheses, same as comparing unit fractions. 5/6 is greater than 5/8. So you are going to work with a partner on page 362. You will use what we learned. You have your fraction circles to help you if you want to use them. You also, if you are at home remote, I've given you in that bag number lines. You can use number lines to help you. I have, let's see. I also sent home fraction circles with all the way up to 12ths. So you could use those to help you. I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys work together, use your tools. I'll pass these out if you think you need them. You can use, I think these would be helpful today. If you want to use a number line, you may do that. You're going to work either in with a partner or in a triad. So I'm going to put you in breakout groups, page 362. Did you have a question, Lyric? No? Okay. Page 362.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Sure. All right, you guys can go ahead and join.
Yeah, maybe in whatever that is. So he never cut the pieces out. Friends never cut the pieces.
You're muted.
Yep, thank you, thank you. All right, how are we feeling about comparing fractions, not just unit fractions, but fractions in general, like fractions with the same numerator but different denominators, fractions with the same denominator and different numerators. How are we feeling? It was tough. Okay, we will continue with this tomorrow. If you are remote, you can give lesson 7.5 a try on Think Central, see how you do. Mrs. Harrison's class, you can recycle your circles. Please turn in that sheet. We're going to use those tomorrow, or put it in your math workbook. But the rest of you, would you put those sheets in the basket for me? And we will see you mañana. Have a great night.